Mick,
Good to meet you.
thank you very much for your time, mate. It's really good to meet you too. So, Mick, before we go into obviously what we're here to talk about, most importantly, but we want to know who Mick is. And so, give us a bit of background on yourself. I know, obviously, Portsmouth. Where
Yeah,
did...
well, I was actually born in London,
Oh, okay.
but moved down this way. My dad's from London, from Wembley area.
Yeah.
Moved down when I was two-ish, so been Portsmouth I live in Pembroke. I've been Pembroke most of my life.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, a bit about me. I'm 61. I've been in the construction business or the roofing business since I was 18.
Really.
I've had my own business since I was 18, in several forms.
Mm-hmm.
And now I work for Gable. I'm chairman of Horndean Football Club. Football and
Nice.
roofing has been my entire life to this point.
Wow.
So,
Literally 18 years old, yeah?
yeah,
So,
I mean, I started when I left school, basically just working. I left school, very little qualifications.
yeah.
Worked for a neighbour doing kitchen fitting during my first summer holiday, and
Mm-hmm.
then he didn't have any work at the end of that. I sort of liked the hands-on sort of element of it.
Yeah.
Always sort of been interested in building and stuff like that, and got a job with a roofing company. It was actually a decorating company, but they had a roofing side, and ended up on that. And then 18, I was working with an older chap I was 18, he was 35. We sort of went into business together and just developed from there, really. And eventually bought him out. He emigrated to America. So ended up on my own. My brother had left school by then, so he came into the business, and just I've been self-employed or a director since that point, really. So,
which we all know it has a glamorous title, director.
Yeah.
The people aren't really going to understand what really pressures
No, I
that
think
comes with being a director.
Well, I think when you start in business, it's generally your hands-on working for yourself. So
Yeah.
I was a roofer. I was bumping tiles up a ladder and playing football semi-professionally at the time.
Right.
So I was earning a little bit of money from that. My parents were always very supportive, and that's how the business came about. I was living at home at the time. I used to go home and tell my dad how disorganised the company I was working was. And one day he said to me, well, why don't you do it for yourself? And hadn't really at the time, in the 80s, there was quite a bit of support from banks, business development loans, and they wanted people to, the Margaret Thatcher era was all about promoting people starting their own businesses.
Entrepreneurialism.
It
Was
was
pushing it back
really,
then, weren't they? It seems
and it was quite easy to get money from the bank. And it was the old days when you actually had a bank manager and you could sit in front and put your ideas over, and they were quite supportive. But my dad lent me £500,
which would have been quite a bit of dough back then.
Quite a bit then, yeah. Well, it was for him because he was just where he was a.
What was your old man? What did he do?
He's still alive now. He's 96 this year, so
is he
he's
really
going really
you
well.
Got some strong genes in the family.
So
and what was it?
He was into aerospace. He worked for a company called Sperry Vickers. So he was an engineer basically.
Yeah.
But later on, when he retired, he came and worked for my business, sort of running our accounts and stuff like that. So
that's quite nice.
He retired and then went back to work and then retired again. So
well, maybe that's why he's still 96. Because
he
kept his mind
he's
operating.
Still his body's packing up, but mentally he's very
still
astute.
there.
And,
wow.
He's still doing okay. So he was the one sort of thing he said to me at the time was that, I'll help you set up the business, but make sure it looks after the family. And it was always like my brother left school and he came in, worked with me, and has been with me throughout his.
Are you the oldest?
I'm the oldest. My brother's a couple of years younger.
Yeah.
And now I've got my son runs the scaffolding side. My other son works for us. I've had cousins and that in and out the business.
So you've done your dad
I've
proud.
Got 6 grandkids, so I'm sure at some point they will.
I wonder why you lost your hair.
When they get old enough, they will.
6, yeah.
Yeah, they will. They will probably find their way into the business somehow.
Yeah,
so,
and how lovely for that.
Yeah,
to create something that can provide that.
Yeah, and it was really the sort of mantra of the business that it was, order to keep it going, to look after people that
Mm.
need jobs, really, and
Amazing.
create jobs for other people.
I want to take it back a little bit,
Mhm.
because a lot of people who go into construction don't do too well at school. They don't confine to the classroom.
Yeah.
And I think for probably the last few decades, the push has been, well, if you don't go to college, don't go to university, you're not smart.
Yeah.
That's a very much like an academia way of looking at things.
Yeah.
But what we're massive believers in with what we do and speak, there's so many different intelligences.
Yes.
And people need to understand that just because
Yeah.
I didn't conform to a classroom at all, like I couldn't do school, it just wasn't for me.
No.
Doesn't mean to say you're stupid though, does it? You're very capable, right?
There's different types of people that learn different ways, and I think back when I was at school, there, you never heard of ADHD and things like that, but there was blatantly people in my class that had that, and they were just classed as thick or unteachable, really, that they were pushed into the corner or excluded. But there's people that use their mind, there's people that use their hands, there's different ways of learning, and I don't know if schools changed dramatically since that, but there's still, when you get to the last few years, I remember doing careers advice and stuff like that, and they ask you what you want to do, and unless it was go to college or university, anything you came up with, they just laughed at you and said, well, you're never going to do that, are you? So it's like, putting you down, really.
But
more
it is,
than
it's setting a ceiling in people's mindset, and they've got the real hardwired self-belief system where, well, I can't do that, and then that becomes them.
Yeah, but if you look at most entrepreneurs, I'd say the majority of them have got ADHD or some form
100%.
of dyslexia or something like that, which people see as a disability, which is an actual attribute for people, because seeing things in a different way or learning in a different way should be seen as an attribute, not a deficiency in you, really. And I think school doesn't recognise I could go into a classroom and I could tell you the kids that will be good in construction and those that will be academic, and some of my best friends went to university and ended up working at McDonald's.
There you go.
Because they were overqualified and they couldn't get work because people just thought, well, that's going to be too easy for you, and in the end they couldn't get a job.
Exactly. And
so you can be too much the other way sometimes. So
definitely,
I think schools should really, construction should, in the last couple of years, they should identify people that aren't going to be academic and get them trained into getting into the construction industry, because it is very difficult to get in construction now at the bottom stage because of health and safety and CSCS cards and all the stuff you have to get an entry. It puts young people off, because if you're not good at exams or tests, then it rules you out.
I was literally on the way up here, I had a Zoom call with a woman called Sam from Subby Hub. She's saying the exact same thing as you, with young people coming into construction. Like, there needs to be this big push in the school, in the later on years in the school, because, well, one, people aren't inspired to go into construction because they're looking at social media thinking you can go and earn millions of pounds doing something overnight, which is not reality. And two, like, it's all this technology push, but the construction industry is needed to build everywhere. It's the most.
Still need manual labour.
You need it, and we need to do a better job of inspiring people and showing people that it is an admirable job to go into. 100%.
Yeah, you can take pride in actually producing.
For sure.
There's everywhere I go, there's buildings I drive past that I've done something on. You only got to look around the room here at some of the projects we've done. I mean, we're currently doing the Mountbatten Centre at Portsmouth. We did the first.
Did you do the Mountbatten Centre?
In 2009, that won an award.
How long ago it was?
That was the new build, which is where the swimming pool is. But now we're doing the old sports hall and that roof, which we started about 18 months ago. But you can look at that and take pride in it. It's a
very unique
build. Well, that won a CalZip award for that particular design. Back when that was built in 2009.
Because one of my questions was going to be like, what are some milestones and achievements? That's got to be up there with a big one for Gable.
I mean, you know, how I got involved with Gable was, you know, my business about 7 or 8 years ago. Pete Wilson, who is the MD of Gable,
Mm-hmm.
I've known for a long time through football and various other things, and we sort of merged my company with his company. We merged into, because we were doing work for Gable
Yeah.
on smaller projects, and we sort of I came involved that way.
Mm-hmm.
And Gable have been trading over 54 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
So
Nearly as long as you in.
yeah. So you know, some of the projects we did the roof on the D-Day Museum at
You do,
Southsea
yeah,
a
yeah.
couple of years ago.
Iconic
So
buildings, really, in
yeah, they
Portsmouth.
are, and you
100%.
know,
And come and be in Portsmouth. I know you grew up now,
yeah,
but you've been in Portsmouth basically
mm,
most of your life. So, yeah, it must be.
yeah. So going into construction, it's not a dead end job.
Oh,
It's something to be proud of, really. And
yeah.
without people constructing stuff, then you're not going to have any of these iconic
No,
buildings, are you? And
no, it is an important industry. It's one of the most
mm,
important industries. But obviously, we need to talk a little bit about what pressures the industry also has. Obviously, coming
yeah,
from Speak,
yeah,
you've been in the industry, especially your select sort of niche within construction.
yeah,
I bet you've seen some stuff over the
yeah,
years. Do you
yeah.
mind?
Well,
Do you mind elaborating at all? Maybe personal experience, other people's
yeah.
experience that you've come
Well,
across.
probably my worst experience was one of my employees actually killed himself, and it wasn't down to construction, but it was down to pressures of um, paying for stuff, you know,
Mm,
generating money. The construction industry, generally people are on price, so if you don't come into work you don't get paid.
mm,
He'd had a few personal issues with his family, and that got on top of him, and I wasn't aware of that. All I knew that he wasn't coming to work
and
and I needed him at work.
mm, mm,
And one day he lived in Portsmouth, and he was found hanging from a goalpost at Great Saltons. That was probably 20 years ago now.
really.
Um, but you do feel guilty that you couldn't have, maybe you could
I
have done
think
more, or
from a
you
from a
didn't see the signs,
yeah, from
or
a human level,
yeah,
I think we all carry that guilt because
mm,
it's like, well, why didn't
mm,
I notice? But
yeah,
it's so hard, especially
mm,
if you're not educated
yeah,
and like told what to look out for and things like
yeah,
this. And also, let's have it right, men
mm,
especially are
yeah,
so good at wearing the mask.
yeah, yeah. And he
Like,
was the most happy-go-lucky bloke,
mate, my mate Mason Pedal, he
laughing and
honestly
joking.
he was that
Yeah, I
guy.
know Mason.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
mate,
Mm.
he was that guy. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and like you
And
think,
generally that is the way.
yeah, it
The
seems to
life and
be.
soul of the party is
Yeah,
generally the one suffering the most,
yeah,
isn't it? So,
exactly. And
um,
it's so sad because, like you said, you can't just say it's construction. No way. You can never say it's
no.
one thing, and especially it's harsh to say it's construction. You just pointed out
Mm,
there's definitely pressure points being in the industry. Of course, there is.
mm,
And if you're not educated on how to manage your money properly,
yeah,
and you're not educated on some tools to how to manage your own mindset properly,
yeah.
and things like you don't wake up one day and you're in the crisis, do you?
It's a gradual
It's a
build up.
gradual build up,
Yeah.
and that's what we're trying to deliver, Mick. Is that
Mm,
getting early prevention? Like we're working with money mates. They're going to teach you how to, as a
yeah,
construction
yeah.
worker, how to get on the property ladder. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like these little things, but treating the problem holistically is what's super important. But
mm,
can I just go back to what you're
yeah,
saying? How did you deal with it? Because when I was again a chat earlier, you spend sometimes with your work lot more time with
yeah.
them than what you do your missus and your kids.
Mm,
And
yeah,
so
you do.
you do have a bit of a soft spot for people within your
Yeah.
business, and you grow relationships.
Yeah, well, you feel a responsibility to them
Yeah,
because they're relying on you for their living, and that is a massive responsibility as a business owner. You do feel the pressure of, like, if work's tight and you've got to lay people off, you think of the consequences of
mm,
that and their family and what they're going to
yeah,
do. A lot of people in the building industry are self-employed, so they might move from company to company for more money, and then it doesn't work out and they want to come back and that opportunity is not there anymore, so you feel
mm,
guilty by not being able to retake them back on and help them out. So there is a big pressure, and it's magnified by the amount of people you employ. I mean, Gable
mm,
alone has probably got over 30 employees.
Really? So that's 30 families though, isn't
Yeah,
it?
30 families. That's without all the subcontractors that we
Yeah.
use that rely on us for contracts and work
Mm-hmm.
further down the chain. So, you tend not to think about it until something comes up that drags you back into reality, really, and
Mm.
then you sort of feel the full weight of it
Yeah.
that you have to deal with, and
I
it's
suppose all of us, like every single one of us, we're busy.
mm,
We've got our own lives. We've got responsibilities.
yeah,
You know, you've got
yeah,
to sometimes worry about what's going on the table for dinner for your family, let alone thinking about
yeah.
whatever else's problems and whatever else is up to. And it's hard to try and keep up with everything. But
Yeah, some people can and some people can't, and
yeah,
that's the problem, really. It's
mm,
difficult to tell who's coping because you can easily just go into work mode, and your
yeah,
personal life can take a back seat,
yeah,
and you don't realise the problems until it's too late. And
yeah.
it's a management thing.
Have you Have you done well over the years to have a work-life balance? Is there a time where it maybe got a little bit out of hand, where it's too much work and you need to pull it in for the sake of others or for the sake of your own mental
I
health?
think as you get older, you learn to manage it. That's why I like football, because
Yeah,
it's the one thing where when you're at football, you just think about football.
yeah,
Even from playing, it's like you can switch off.
yeah,
Um, and although it's stressful, I find it relaxing because I'm not thinking about work, and
yeah.
it's something else to concentrate on. But if you're constantly working, and don't get me wrong, a lot of people work 7 days a week. I've always thought if you've got to work 7 days a week, something's going to snap at some point,
Mm,
because you have to have time away to then appreciate what you do at work. So,
yeah,
but I've realised that some people have to do 7 days because they have to earn the money
because the
to
pressure's
live,
there.
and it is getting harder. The cost of living's going up,
Mm-hmm.
um, and the pressures to work and put money on the table, especially for construction, because it's so weather related.
100%,
Roofing,
especially
if
roofing.
it's raining, you can't work.
No,
Simple as that.
no.
So if you look, we haven't had one dry day since Christmas, I don't think.
It has been bad, isn't it?
Every single day it's rained at some
So
point. So
how has Gables
mm.
coped as a business with that? How have people within the business
Well,
coped with
it
it?
reduces our output,
Yeah.
which means our workers earn less.
Mm-hmm.
We can't get through the work that we need to get through, because so contract periods get extended, and you rely on having a good summer, really, to be able to earn your money when the weather's good, and
Mm,
hopefully support when the weather's not so good. But as you know, the construction industry at the moment is very volatile. um, there's lots of work out there, but it's difficult. It's very competitive.
yeah.
So people are carving the prices up to get the work, and then that's not necessarily earning what they should be earning.
Yeah,
So
and then sometimes
um,
you're over promising with deadlines, which then trickles down to
yeah,
the
and
site
that's
workers
where
as well, right?
the pressure of getting jobs done, because on a lot of the big jobs, there's liquidated damages if you don't complete on time,
Yeah.
which means then you're paying them money
Hmm.
every week you don't finish the contract. So the pressure to get the job done is quite immense. So
For
and
sure.
that feeds down the line, really, to the workers. They've got to get the work done,
Yeah,
and
and that's
that
it,
creates
right?
pressure.
And it does all start at the top. I had
Mm,
this conversation today again.
mm,
I've done a few podcasts today already.
yeah.
But it does trickle down from the top, and like so we do have a solution where it is for the
Mm,
workforce, but also a solution for leadership level as well.
mm,
um Interests me when you say when you've got to look for jobs and you're under budgeting and sort of
mm.
maybe going over budget,
Mm.
but and timescales. Does tenders play a lot big role in what you're doing for winning work, or not
Yeah,
really?
yeah. We tender. Most of our work
You
is
do,
competitive tender.
yeah.
So
And so do you lean onto the social value side of things?
yeah, yeah. We've
Yeah,
just finished a big project in Malvern for Kinetic,
yeah.
and there was quite a bit of social value on that. We had to do some stuff with the local scouts, the local
Hmm.
football club down there.
Nice.
We had considerate construction, which is certain things you've got to put into place
Hmm.
during the contract period to minimise your impact on the local area. Obviously, we had people staying away in hotels, which was generating business for the local community.
And you get a kickback from that. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay, that's
yeah,
nice. That's nice. Because it is. It's all about providing evidence to helping society, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
basically what it is.
Mm.
Now, that doesn't exclude your own workforce. So what
No.
we've brought in with Speak
Mm.
is our solution is to be able to evident and capture
Mm.
data.
Mm.
And so you can actually help your workforce
Mm.
evident it and use that as social value.
Yeah.
And so the reason why I got into the construction industry, yes, Mason, he was from the
Mm.
construction industry,
Mm.
you know, a few others that I've lost were.
Mm.
It wasn't just that. It was a study that I come across for Deloitte.
Yeah.
And it's every £1 you spend on your workers' mental health,
Mm.
it returns you £5.
Mm.
And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, you know, I've got a partnership with Thrive to Build, an AI agency, which I know we can lean on them to do to collect the data
Yeah.
and do the
Yeah.
analysation and everything. And we know we got a natural solution. You know, with Brett will introduce you to like that. We know how it can help and how it can help people. But if we can evident it,
Yeah.
actually, it's going to help the business win more work.
Yeah.
They have a better company culture.
Yeah.
Well-being's better. Should again produce more work. And what we do is we're going to try and incentivize the staff, the workforce, by giving them prizes, by taking them away on holidays, Premier League football matches, might even be a bit of money off their debt. Something to dangle a carrot and go, turn up for yourself, because no one else is doing that. Like, there's no doctor going to rip the Band-Aid off.
No.
If things are a little bit hard right now, which they are for everybody, it's not being in denial, it's not letting egos get in the way. We're all feeling it financially.
Yeah.
We're all feeling it fucking every time you put the news on. There's somewhere else. It's depressing, mate. It's depressing. You can't get away from it. So yes, we're all fucking, it's hard. So everyone needs a little bit of support, and whether that be, you know, a bit of financial education, whether it's an education around natural wellness, group fit, meditation, whatever it is, we're going to have a space for it. And so it would be good to maybe see how we can help you win some more tenders as well.
Definitely.
That would be good.
Yeah,
that would be good. Looking at, obviously, because I'm speaking from ground up right up towards sort of CEO and senior levels like yourself, I like to try and get that perspective. And so I know we've talked about others, but what, particularly in your role, do you find high pressure and a lot of stress?
I think meeting deadlines is probably the hardest. And I think when all the time, I mean, it's problem solving generally. So the job, the higher up you go, you're solving problems throughout the day. And providing you've got some answers to those problems, it's not that stressful. But it's when you haven't got the answers to the problems, that can become stressful. And I know a lot of people that they get anxiety attacks, and it's sort of like a dark cloud hanging over them where they feel they can't see a way out of it. And I've had that on a couple of occasions when business has been bad, and you know, some of the recessions we had back in 2010 was particularly bad for my business. I lost a lot of money with a particular contractor, which was no fault of my own, but got sort of tied up with another subcontractor who had done some defective work, and it affected us, and we had to sort of lay people off, and you know, we had to sort debt out and stuff like that. So that was probably the most stressful moment, because sometimes there were days when you couldn't see an answer to the problems.
How did you get through it though? What?
Just trying to stay focused on small sections at a time without trying to look at the whole,
overwhelming you.
Because and seeking professional advice, in not so much for mental health, but professional advice in business, really, to see a way out of it.
See,
you know,
I love that you look for professional advice, and it doesn't need to be, I need to speak to a therapist to speak for an hour about my child. No, you're stressed out to fuck about this area. I need a business advisor or consultant, or someone who's maybe been a little bit successful, and you can open your hands out and go.
And friends, to be honest. You know, like there was a couple of my friends that really helped me out.
Did they?
Without them, it could have been a totally different scenario.
Amazing.
I could have lost my house.
So it's important to have network and friends around you.
And you know, you look back now and you think, you know, that 2010 was that 15 years ago. But at the time, it was very stressful, and you obviously got a lot of people counting on you. So without those friends sort of helping at the time, or at least, you know, supporting you, that it could have been a different scenario. So
well, I've got to be grateful for your mates.
And mates are a big part of it, you know.
Yeah.
Like you said, blokes aren't the best at talking to each other.
It's murder.
And, you know, I've got a good group of friends, and most of the time we're together, we never talk about
Nah.
what our mental health
No,
state
even
is.
with my
But
pals.
yeah,
Even it's like banter and
yeah,
whatever. But
it is. You
that
generally
could be a
laugh
nice
it off.
environment as
And,
well. But it's also good to have another outlet where there is somewhere where you might not get judged and whatnot. So that's what we're building.
and then people have come to me in the same
Have they? Yeah.
circumstances and said, "Look, I'm struggling." And,
Okay, you have had
you
that,
know,
yeah.
what advice can you give? And it's always difficult giving advice, because if it goes wrong,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you know, you can feel guilty for that, really, by giving the wrong advice. But I say,
Mm-hmm.
generally, going back to the business element of it, is there are people that deal with these sort of things and are specialists in it, and you've got to find them rather than sticking your head in the sand and thinking it's just going to go away.
Yeah. Well,
problems get bigger, not smaller.
They do.
And like you say, a problem shared is a problem halved.
I know.
And
I know.
but that's very easy to say.
It's very easy to say, but it's very powerful, because it is. When you do offload it, there's a little thing called the amygdala in the brain, which is there basically to protect you from these things. And actually, it's not fear. It's not something that's actually going to kill you. It's a thought. But the amygdala shuts that down for some weird reason.
We're animals at the end of the day, aren't
exactly.
We?
Yeah. We've got a brain that is been
fight or flight.
Yeah, exactly. And this is it.
It's built into us.
Yeah, exactly. Just want to sort of like start to wrap this up. Looking at obviously the business. So a solution that we've come through with is we want to work from site level, but we've identified that we need a bigger solution and we need help, like you said, pointing out who can do what in what areas. And so we look at the problem holistically. And like I said earlier, we started off with the workforce, and actually we've come up now to leadership level. And so we've working with an AI agency, and so we can implement AI agents not to replace work, but actually to upskill the workers who are using the systems. And you know, what you're seeing with these AI systems are guaranteed hours and hours being saved each week. What we're trying to promote is those hours that are saved each week, if you focus that on company culture, with the study that Deloitte done, actually you won't just be getting a return from the AI, you'll be getting a return from the company culture, from the well-being, and the whole energy is then uplifted in the company. That's what we're trying to do as well. So if you'd be interested in us in having a look at that and seeing how we might be able to, whether it happens or not, but it'd be good to have a look and see where it could be implemented.
You've always got to be looking at, I mean, the world's changing so quick now, isn't it?
Rapid.
I mean, I'm at an age now where looking at AI is scary, but you've got to look at it in a positive
and I ain't being
way,
funny,
and how it's going to help rather than hinder, you know.
And I'm not being funny, but a lot of people would say that about the .com boom when that comes. It's like, what? Emails. And now it's like, could you imagine not writing an email?
But kids today, I mean, my grandkids, I mean, my grandson's 10, and I've got, 9, 5, it's all second nature to them.
Literally,
my
5-year-old
granddaughter can operate every bit of tech in the house better than me.
Yeah.
So it's like they're not gonna think anything of it when they get to work age.
No.
But going back to what you said about when I was a school leaver, if you weren't academic, you went into something hands-on. But now, if you're not very academic, you can go into something which is computer-based without having all the hard labour of being out in the cold and all that, which is stopping people going into construction. Because I think, I can either sit in front of a PC and input stuff, or I can be out in the cold. And most of them think, well, I'll stay in the office.
And they do, I suppose the society has become a little bit lazier, soft. It has. You can't say it hasn't.
No.
But, the industries are changing, technology's changing, everything's changing, and we've got to sort of try and change with